Well, I've been rung up and
Hey
chasing
there, I'm on
fountains
location
and
today,
spending
playing
the
a
heart
little
of my
tune from
life. I'm
my
passing
album Good Woman, just to warm us
frequencies,
up,
looking to find
and
a
then we'll
reason around
rock and
along the
roll. How are you?
way.
Great. Pam,
And I've tried to
Raymond, Num
forget,
Nums.
but
That's
something
awesome.
won't let me, 'cause I've tasted the
Enable
best.
Dave,
I'm
Empower
still
Dave, I love
gone
it.
hungry in the back of my
I got the
mind. It's
coolest,
you all the
I
time.
was on a tweet
I
train
see
today with somebody who said that the communities we're sharing in has helped us to get a
hoping,
ritual abuse
praying,
survivor
you've always
to
been there
integrate
waiting
with a world
for
that
me.
involves hope and change and awakening. Isn't that awesome?
I've
She mentioned
wandered
us
far
all. She
from
really did,
home,
because we're all part of the
running
community.
all the
And I
while
love
from
that.
the one
She thought she
I
was
should
like
have known
alone in the
would
world.
reach
She thought she was the one who would have to fight the fight alone. But aren't we finding out that we can fight this thing together? I think that's so awesome. Hey, just enabled. I'm trying to work on my technology here so I can um, follow the chat. That's here. You're there. Something else is here. In any event, happy Monday. Hey, Raylene. Is my microphone not on? How's that? Is that better, you guys? I think I got it. Okay, we're here. Just give me the thumbs up, Mr. Saxophone and everybody. If you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? If you can hear me now. Um, um, no sound. Shoot. Let's add a source. Hang on. Hold on. How's that, guys? Is that better? You got it? Okay, great. All right, well, let's do this thing. Yes. Okay, so I'm on the road again. I wanted to get out a scope before I get in the car and make a drive, and I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you can hear. And what I was saying before was that a lovely lady on Twitter. Oh, I wish I could remember her handle. But she came on and on in a tweet train, thanked a whole group of people that are in our kind of communities, in our tribes, for being there, and excited that as a survivor of ritual abuse, she was now able to say that she had found a family, that she had found people she could fight with and feel like she wasn't alone. And I just think that's so awesome. And I guess that reminds me that every time we come on here to talk, there are people who are new, and there are people who haven't heard our story and need to, need kind of integrating into what we're doing. And so I hope I'm not being, you know, repetitive, but I want to make sure that people who are coming in and are attracted, like if there's an awakening, then we might assume there's going to be more. There's going to be more awakenings and more people coming and more of us processing deeply. When there's a major sea change in your life or a change of thinking, how many times do you feel like, and you can comment in the chat, how many times do you feel like you need to hear something before there's really a change? How many times does it take to penetrate through your gray matter and your skull, and what the resistance you've built up and the safe places that you've built up in order to let something penetrate you? Part of that has to do with us creating a safe place to leave the defenses, very very tightly defended places where we have before. And this is where, hey, Greg, thank you so much for always promoting me. You're just the green bearded Dwall. Anyways, And you and Larry and Abe and all you guys and Sparkling, you're all great. You made it live. A friend of mine, a new friend of mine, suggested that maybe one of the most important things I was going to do in the near future was to help people step into what's called liminal space. Now, he kind of, maybe wants to sound a little precocious with that word, but you have subliminal, that idea of subliminal, but apparent, that you're not aware of. But liminal, apparently, he made me go look it up, and I had to think, and I thought I like nice words. Liminal is the space between one paradigm and another paradigm. I think liminal is the space of awakening. That's where you can sort of let go of what has been your defense, where you've hidden, and where you can kind of expand out into something that you hadn't thought of before, that was too threatening before. And I think that we're all helping people step into the liminal space between, that's the space where you can swallow the red pill, where you can think about ingesting is where the invitation almost sounds good enough to be true, where the opportunity might just be worth the risk of losing what we learn to live out of. And so when I was thinking about this precious gal, I think her handle is Sing To I Am, I was thinking about how hard it is when there's deep abuse and lots of grooves out of which we have lived, that actually provides a safety for us. And I want to share two things with you. The idea of how things serve us, our choices, our patterns, and our behaviors and addictions serve us in a certain way. And when we get ready to see beyond them, and then what is this key thing, this initiative factor that is really, really important in us overcoming? I had time with a friend, and she told me that she found this little thing online, 3 minutes that could totally change your life. And so she started doing it. And this internet teacher just basically said, stop complaining for 30 days. Don't let any complaints come out of your mouth. Zero complaints. And then journal for a couple of minutes a day what you're grateful for. So she said, yeah, I'll give it a try. Well, in 10 days, her whole world came apart. I mean, like everything that she had built herself on began to get deconstructed, because she realized that she was a constant complainer, a whiner in her mind. Things were coming out of her mouth. She was constantly critical, and she was speaking out, complaining. And when she stopped complaining, it was like having a cathartic reaction, and it was really hard. And then when she began to write what she was thankful for, she went into deep grief and pain, because all of a sudden she realized that she had shut down 10 years ago, that something had wounded her and shut her down, and that she'd spent 10 years hidden behind that pain, all simply from stopping complaining and starting to be grateful. And I said to her, do you see how useful that was? That your complaining was useful for you. It wasn't beneficial, but it was useful. Do you see how it kept you from dreaming? Your complaining lowered the bar on your potential expectations. And it served you in the sense that if you could hide behind a critical eye all the time, you could minimize the risk. You could minimize the risk of disappointment, being disappointed again, about having dreams that were crushed. And so the complaining, which just seemed like, I mean, come on, we complain, we feel pretty much entitled to it because we're so dang smart, right? I'm super smart. You're smart. This isn't how it should be. That green light should be there when I need it. That person at the hotel should know better than to do this. All these people who do these goods and services shouldn't be this stupid. The world should be a different way. And we that's not just negativity. We complain, and oi, this is where it gets me, in the shoulders, and we take on that thing, and we kind of seem entitled to our critical eye. And but what it was doing was serving as a wall of protection for her, so she didn't have to hope again for something that might involve her risk, her dreams, her vulnerability. So complaining actually was a strategy subliminally to stop the risk and stop the pain or the potential of pain. And that 1-2 punch of stopping complaining and then being grateful allowed her to step into the liminal space, the space between, where she could begin to feel the pain and the disappointment and the sadness over the loss of the original dreams, and then repent for the long time she'd spent avoiding the new dreams. And so we step, liminal space is that space we provide for each other, either in where God meets us with these challenges like this thing that she's doing about complaining, or in my Fear Free Life group, I challenged everyone in December to drink 4 glasses of water a day and spend 10 minutes journaling as a strategy to deal with the deeper issues in the holidays. And those 2 little simple things sent a whole group of people into this adventure where they got so present for Christmas and so present with their own pain and grief, and so much more able to deal with that, filter through it, cull through it, and move on. Plus, they gained less weight, lost a few pounds drinking all that water. Simple things that move us out of our protected zones into that space where we can imagine change, that unknown, and then into the new place. And so this is what we help each other do. We provide for each other a safe place where we can imagine being different, and we can imagine letting go of these behaviors and choices that are not serving us well, but they are serving a purpose. If you've got something it's a pet for you, you just really want to do it, it's just your thing, and it's just the knee jerk to what you do, and you sort of think you deserve it. It doesn't really matter that it ticks off the people around you and then it kind of alienates you, and it's probably not biblical, it's probably not good, you probably know that already, you know, and it's your little thing you do. It's a pet issue. It's really it's a strategy. It's a subliminal strategy to keep you from having to deal with your thing. I remember when I've told you this before, but I remember when a practitioner who did acupuncture was treating me many years ago for intense colon problems and spasms and stuff. And he stuck the needles in me, and then he said, "Okay, I've got one question for you. While you sit here with these little needles in you, I want you to answer this question. What's your payoff for having a spastic colon?" And he walked out of the room. He didn't give me any explanation. He just asked the question, and I sat there with those little needles in me. And it's amazing how real I got in that moment. And he came back in, and liminal, Limi, and liminal, it's Lim, I know that much. And he came back in, and I said to him, probably more honestly than I wanted to be, I said, well, if my colon can take the issues, then I don't have to deal with them. And I realized that I'd been sending so much pain and anxiety and grief into my body. And one day my body just said, screw you, read between the lines. You're going to, I'm not carrying it anymore. And I had this whole thing, and it set me on a journey, of healing and getting to the roots of some things. And when we have pet behaviors and avoidances, they serve a purpose. There's a payoff. If I can just be a bitchy, complaining person, then I don't have to deal with the real disappointment and the fact that I'm just sure that I'm going to get screwed over. So why don't I just keep that bitchy complainer forward and let the world know that I deserve better, rather than being that's it, Lady Grace, rather than being stepping into the place of vulnerability. But what we do here is we provide a place, a way for each other to engage with the things that would otherwise be scary for us, even though we're far, far, far away from one another. And I think that's really beautiful. And there are new people joining in all the time. So we may repeat from time to time, mightn't we? We might say some things over and over, and hopefully we're going more deep with our determination to be free. Because fear-free living is not a nice idea. It's actually, fear is illegal in the kingdom of God. And we've all been breaking the law. and that's not to put heavy chains on us of performance. It's basically to say that we've allowed stuff God wouldn't allow, and we don't have to anymore. Why would we want to? And the one thing I wanted to share with you today was a thought that keeps coming up for me because when I was researching how to overcome stage fright, which is, I guess, a form of social anxiety, right? I mean, that's the new moniker now, social anxiety, everything from agoraphobia to, you know, I don't know what it's public speaking or it's just all the ways that people scare us. We're scared of being around people and what they think and all that stuff. And so people phobia, right? Or people's thinking about us phobia. And so it's the Daniel Barrett method, Berant. And I was researching his work and reading his work, and he has a lot of success in helping people overcome social anxiety. And I was trying to find out what his secret sauce was, so that I could learn more and I could teach better and see if if I to confirm what I've where I'm at. I'm not a professional therapist or counselor or anything. I'm just little Julie Lavender from Bakersfield, California. And hey, the president went to my hometown last week to talk about water. Hello, just saying. In any event, he said, this is very interesting, and this is something we can each glom onto. Okay, first of all, is that we need to move into liminal space, which is the space between what was really working for us. We were locked into the places. Um, um, I love people, I just don't want to be around them. Well, yeah, exactly. I get it. Sometimes I know. I let's admit it. A lot of times we don't want to be around people a lot more than than we even admit. In any event, this idea of moving into liminal space and moving out of what our payoff has been for the old behaviors and into the new place. And he said that when he deals, Daniel Barrett, when he deals with people who are incredibly anxious, and his site is kind of cool. He's got some cool videos and stuff on it. The Barrett method. Um, he said the number one thing that determined someone's success in his program, whether they were really going to overcome anxiety, was what do you think? What do you think? What do you think it would be? Got any ideas? Hmm, you know, I don't know. Medication? I read along too fast, so I didn't allow myself to think about it. I just kept reading. But he said it was initiative. That initiative is the single most important thing in someone getting free. And what is initiative? Initiative is that next step taking. It's that it's that pursuit of the next step. It is that person who understands the enterprising action that's going to go at something difficult and can't be stopped from the next activation, from the next step. That is exact opposite of passivity and inertia. An object remains at rest unless something else is acted upon it, right? And so we get at rest in our behaviors that serve us, and we hide out there. And then someone comes along and challenges us into this liminal space where we begin to wonder what's possible for us. Could a ritual abuse survivor be totally free? Yes. Could someone who's experienced lifelong trauma be totally free and fear free in all the areas of their life and thriving and peace filled and order filled and fully activated? Yes, 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 yes. God wouldn't tell us and command us not to be afraid, or phobos is the word in Greek where we get our word phobia. God wouldn't command us to live like that if it weren't possible, if there weren't a plan, if there wasn't an economy of heaven to make that possible. And so we're moving into this space where we're starting to believe it could be true not only for someone else, but for us. And the thing that we need to really get a hold of as part of that process is our choice to take the next step, the initiative process, the initiative of moving forward. That's why when I heard the Lord say to me that time I was sitting on the couch, Julie, now is your time, and he knew missteps. Well, there you go. Missteps can be just as important, Abe. But you God can course correct someone who's moving. it's easier to correct a moving vehicle than one that's just basically, it's like driving past Zeke and his other brother Zeke's front yard, and they've taken the tires and the wheels off the the chassis, and it's just sitting there in the grass. It's much harder to move and to get and to correct if we're parked and hiding out and avoiding. And so Daniel Barrett says that it's initiative that makes the difference. That's when somebody is no longer willing to live in the old. And so when God said to me, Julie, it's your time to get well, I knew what he meant. It terrified me. I went into full on fight or flight shock. He knew he wanted me to deal with my terrifying stage fright. And my response was, uh, okay. I said, yes, I will. I'll follow you through every open door, and I knew and risk that I need to take. I didn't say that out loud, but I knew that's what it meant. As long as you'll go with me one step at a time and you won't leave me. Silly, he wouldn't, but I just needed to say it. I just needed to say, I needed to have some kind of contract. God, I'll go with you. I'll do this thing, but you're not right. You're agreeing. You're not leaving me, right? You're gonna open a door. And you're gonna walk through with me, right? Right, right. You're not gonna just leave me out there in that liminal space all by myself. and and so of course that's who he is. And I don't even know why I said it. I just needed to have that comfort. But my experience had been that God had always walked with me one step at a time, that he'd been there in areas that demonstrated I could trust him for the big ones. Guys, if you've really been a very traumatized person and you've had some horrendous things happen, God might start with more of the outer rings of your pain to begin to demonstrate his faithfulness, to begin to demonstrate all the ways you can trust him and all the ways that he is showing up for you. So you have a history and you have a track record with him. So you learn to step out over here and over there. And then he works his way in, and one day he says to you, Enabled Abe, Awesome Greg Harvey, Larry, Pam, Raylene, the whole bunch of you. He says, it's time to get to that inner one where you really got screwed and you're just sure I'm going to bail on you when you need me. Now it's time to dig closer to that one. And that's where the pain, really the deeper pain is. Well, yeah, God's here for me all these times, but he won't be there for me in the really big ones. This is where we talked earlier this week about how we can live as functional atheists, where we say we believe in God, but there are areas in our life where we're deeply convinced there is no God because we got screwed so badly. We're sure there's no God, or if there is, he sucks because I've cried, I prayed, yeah, you're good, but not that good. And we all have those, you guys. We all do. We all will have that burning, biting sensation that brings us into real conflict with the idea of who God is, into the places where he plays nice in the sandbox over here, but when it really counts for me, I'm not sure that he's trustworthy at all. And I feel like in our life, he begins to build in us some structures to help us deal with the most deeply disruptive memories and the most deeply disruptive pain, and help us to stretch into that experience, right? So I don't know where you are in that process as he sort of goes outer rings to inner rings to begin to teach you about his character and his heart and his blessings. But you are going to develop a track record with yourself through the idea of initiative. That's the you that says, I'm getting up to take that step. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be the one that calls the therapist. I'm going to be the one who reaches out for prayer. I'm going to be the one who drinks the 4 glasses of water and writes in my journal a little bit every day, even if I go off in the wrong direction or even if I mess up. The initiative person is the person like my friend who says, okay, I can do 3 minutes. I'm completely disinterested in anything that takes me 15. I don't have faith for anything maybe that takes me 10 minutes. I don't have faith for this, and this, but I think I can handle 3 minutes with God. Can you do it? Those 3 minutes wound up being the 3 minutes. And so God has a way of getting us into those key moments where we get to learn that we do take steps. It's not just about Him. See, when you've been super disempowered, you don't believe in your own ability to take the next step. You've tried so many wacky, get rich quick, lose the weight overnight schemes. You've been to so many prophetic meetings and listened to so many people, and they had the secret sauce and they waved it over the crowd. And you went home and you thought you were going to be better, and then you wound up waking up to yourself to again, doing the same crap you always did. Hey, Abe, thank you. And so we need to develop a track record with ourselves. We need to develop a sense of value in our own ability to take the next step. John Paul Jackson said this, and it really stuck to me. He said, you've got to be able to have faith in your own track record, and that's when no one is looking, and God gives you that next step, that next risk. And even if you feel like you should take one that wide, you still reach out and you take one this wide. And then the next day you do it again, and the next day you do it again. And maybe something comes up for you, and you dither over here for a while, but then you're back at it. Initiative, enterprise. You won't be stopped. You're doing something that's building your own sense of your own track record and your own ability to go at it. And this is a skill, and it may not seem important, but it's like those incremental changes that we make are super powerful. They build resilience in the brain. They build our faith, because we learn we can do it. We can do it. And sometimes people are really stuck with initiative because the trauma goes so deep. The message was from Satan was that you that of all people in the world, you're not the one who can actually take any steps, so don't even try. It just goes so deep from being, maybe even your own agency was stolen from you. Maybe the abuse was so deep that people did have just really, maybe you've got altars and fragments and parts of your personality that are just literally in spiritual chains from deep levels of abuse. But God is so good. He's going to give you ways in those outer rings of your life to develop resilience, to develop faith, and to develop the I will, I am, I do. I answer the call. I make the changes. I take the steps. And that's extremely important, because that's a skill you have to get back if you've been deeply abused, is your ability to trust in your own strength to take a step, even if it's a small one, and take it again the next day. That's super healing when you're very traumatized. To begin to have faith in yourself, and to have and watch what God does, and see that incredible chemistry of heaven touching earth, of Him working in and through you, and you getting stronger and stronger together. And then He moves into those touchier areas, right, where there may be more pain. But by then we've built up some initiative, haven't we? We've built up a track record. And we've learned to move into our liminal spaces. We've learned to move out of what we thought of ourselves and what was possible into some discomfort, and then move into some equilibrium again, where we find a space to rest. I feel like God takes us, into these from these really rigid places into these kind of more malleable, what's possible for me places, and it's really a stressor. And then we settle in, and He gives by the streams of water. He lets us settle into the new reality of what we've learned and who we are. And then the next thing you know, He's pulling us along into those unknowns. And the more we build this initiative factor, this willingness to take the next step, to not wait for someone else to do it, to defeat passivity, that is a powerful, powerful weapon. And Mr. Famous Daniel Barrett, psych shrink, PhD or whatever, says that is absolutely key to freedom. So don't despise those changes and stretchings and risks and those small consistent things. Celebrate them. In fact, take your 3 minutes. like my friend did. You know, her stretch was, I won't complain, and I'm going to write down what I'm grateful for, right? And the thing is that that was her 3 minutes, and your stretch might be 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of cleaning up your house. Maybe you're a hoarder. Maybe you're really in a mess, or returning some phone calls, or taking a walk around the block for 15 minutes to change, to get your heart rate going, and beginning to get some resistance into good, healthy self care and some initiative into that. And these are essential for us, and we're relearning how to be safe. We're relearning how to believe in the truth, and we're relearning how to be just absolutely fearless and strong. And we're either going to practice all the crap we believed for the next 20 years of our lives, or we're going to just learn to be awesome, right? Just learn to be awesome. Okay, I kind of rambled. That was it. I'm just excited we're in a community where we can support each other and encourage each other, and where we can move into those spaces where we're stretched to capacity, and where we can develop these skills, the faith skill, the life skill of the next step. And what does the scripture say? It says, God dost meet him who rejoices in doing righteousness. God meets the one who rejoices in the next step that's right, the next right step. God rejoices in meeting the person who is taking the next right step to defeat our fear, deal with our crap, and all that stuff. And all that and a bag of chips. Well, thanks, Greg. I just feel like I need a beard. That's all I can do. I need a green one. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Go do something that scares you, like take some initiative. You know what it is. You probably already know what it is. Don't hide. You can't hide here watching scopes all day and not do your 3 minutes of initiative step taking. I see you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.